Hi, welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, if you've been watching the show for a few months, you might remember this. This is the Hobby Plus kit version of the van that I built on the show. It's basically a mini crawler and I really liked it, way better than expected, and I really enjoyed it, and it actually was quite capable, especially when you fit the upgraded brass wheel weights. And I was really surprised how popular it was, and I think it sold really well because Hobby Plus have only gone and released this one, which is the CR-18P Evo. What a catchy name. These names were a nightmare. Anyway, turns out that they actually have improved it. They've actually put a 2-speed transmission in it. There's a few optional extras like these that are now in it by standard. So what we're going to do in this episode, we're going to open it up, take a look at what you get. We're going to compare it to the kit version that I've got here. We've got a load of upgrades as well to fit to it. We've got a light kit, we've got oil shocks and a few other bits and pieces. So stay tuned if you want to see that. Hit it, Charlie. Just for people that haven't seen these before, what you get in the box. Well, obviously you get the car itself. Now this is a ready to run, so it's all basically ready to be driven. Even the battery sits in there waiting to go. You just got to charge it up. You get a transmitter. This is standard for these. The previous version had exactly the same transmitter. No difference at all, really. Then down here you get your different channels. That's channel 4 is to change the lights because you can turn them on, main beam, that kind of stuff, indicators. And then channel 3 here on this transmitter does the gears, as this has 2 gears versus the old one. One thing I found after having playing around with it for a little while, the switch has 3 positions and the middle is neutral. So if you're taking it crawling and you want to have neutral, you can. It's not just 1 and 2. There's a 1, neutral, 3, which is a little bit different. Also you get a manual, a USB charger, little tiny Allen key and a pretty naff screwdriver. Not that you're really going to use them, and you're pretty much ready to go. Right, let's have a look at the difference between this version, the Evo version, and the older version, the kit version. So from the body point of view, the bodies are identical. The only difference is obviously this one is pre-done for you, whereas I bought the kit one, so I had to paint it up myself and do all the masking, and obviously put my own stickers on to give it a bit of a difference. Personal choice, which one you prefer, all depends on whether you can be bothered to do the body. I have to say their bodies are fine. They look super retro and all pretty sharp, two-tone this one. Now you can get many different body types for this chassis. Wheels and tyres are identical. I have the brass wheel weights in this one as it was the kit version and they came with it. So if you buy the kit one, you tend to get a few upgrades in it, whereas the actual ready to runs come stock. But they have added some extras into the Evo that you had to buy extra on this one. So they all open up the same way from the rear. So you could swap the bodies over if you wanted to. Now the biggest one you'll notice straight away when you look inside is this one has the fender wells, whereas the older one didn't. Apart from that, the chassis runs pretty much exactly the same. There's just different plates to mount this one up, and obviously it has an extra servo to change your gears for you. ESC and receiver combo is identical, no difference. The only thing you can see is one is flat and one is pitched up. Now the reason it's pitched up in the Evo new version is they've put a bigger motor in it. Now this has got a 130 turn motor in it, whereas the previous one was a much smaller motor. So that's a nice little upgrade we see. The insides of the bodies are all exactly the same. You get all the wiring for the lights, you get front lights, brake lights, indicators front and rear, which is pretty cool on the van version. Now you still get friction shocks on both vehicles, but I have a set of oil shocks, so we're going to fit those soon, as well as I have a set of the arches to put on the older vehicle as well. You get a 2S LiPo 600 milliamp battery. ESC and receiver combo is water resistant, so splash proof-ish. Yeah, I wouldn't go submerging it too much, but on the box it says waterproof, but then it says water resistant as well, so take it with a pinch of salt. I think if you drive through a puddle quickly, you're going to be all right. If we flip them over, we can look at the axles, Axles are exactly the same, no change there at all. So really it's a mild upgrade, adding a few nice features. So the extra motor and the gears is a nice little touch. So would I recommend the new one over the old one? 100% yes, definitely worth doing to get that two-speed transmission. Let's start fitting some of these upgrades. I'm going to fit the arches in the blue older version. The wheel weight I'm going to put in the new version. The LED lights are going to go in the new version, and the oil shocks I think I'm going to put in the new version as well. So let's crack on and get these little upgrades done. So it's super easy to fit the mud guards. There's just 2 screws there and then 1 screw at the front, and then you just take the plate and then you just sit it down on the actual car. Then you just attach the screws back again. You do get 4 extra screws, as you need 2 of those for this 2 here, and it's as simple as that. You don't have to take the whole body off, you can just slide it in like this. So there you go, super easy, just got to do exactly the same on the other side. There you go, there's the fender wheels in, and they're exactly the same between the new one and the old one. So they're really easy to fit, you're looking at 5 minutes. Right, let's fit the brass hubs, the LEDs and the oil shocks in the new one. So while we got the wheels off, we've got to take those 5 bolts out to open this up to put the brass weights in. Also, it's really cool to see the portal axles on this tiny little thing are amazing. It's somewhat surprising how many features and functions these tiny little trucks now have. While it's off, we can also do the suspension, so we've got to just undo these and change that over as well. Be interested to see how different it is with oil shocks v the friction shocks. So the wheel weights are in and all the suspension's on. What do I think of the suspension? No different. It's pretty much exactly the same, slightly better. Now you can adjust the ride height because you can actually screw down or up. Also you get extra springs if you want to try harder springs, I think. So you've got a bit more configuration, but honestly these things are so light, it doesn't really make much difference. So as for the suspension, probably wouldn't bother. One that I would definitely say is worth doing, the light's pretty cool, but the brass weights. The brass weights make a big difference to these. Got the instructions on how to do it. Now it comes with the bar, but also some extra lights as well. So that's the LED bar fitted and the spotlights. You get both on those. One thing that's a little bit strange is you get this part here. Now, as far as I know, it doesn't say in the manual. You'd assume that this goes over this part here and then it clips down and does up to make it look better. But you see it has a lip. There's no lip in this part. This part is totally flat. So it doesn't slot over this. It just hovers on top. So you put the bolts through and there's a gap. So I don't quite understand, unless I'm completely wrong and that's supposed to be behind or something, but it screws in fine. So that's just a bit weird. If that's supposed to be a trim piece, they need to recess it slightly, but it will work like that. It just, I mean, it looks okay. It doesn't look too different really. It's just a bit of trim that goes over the top. And then if you could do that in silver, paint that up in silver, it would actually look quite good. Right, let's get it back on the car, van, whatever you want to call it. And then we can fire it up and see what it's like. So there you go, that's the lights fitted. So now when I press the button, it brings on the normal lights, high beam, spots at the front, and then you've got hazard lights or indicator lights. Yeah, I like it. Definitely worth doing. It adds a bit more bling to it. Being that it's so small, to have that many lights on the front is really good. So the one I was interested in is it fast enough to walk with it? Now, having the extra gear, yes, it is definitely fast enough that you could use it on a trail and walk with it. It's one you don't have to just take somewhere to drive it. You can actually walk with it. Now that opens up another whole fun aspect of these. If you can actually walk around with it. Being that it's so small, and you also get a small transmitter, this is perfect to put in your bag, and you can actually just walk around in the parks or lanes or whatever you want, and it's more than capable of keeping up with you. If I go down to low speed, this is the crawling speed. So as you can see, it's pretty slow. Now, it's never going to perform amazingly because it's got an integrated ESC and receiver, but it's not bad, if I'm honest. And those extra weights in the wheels make a big difference. But you can quickly jump into high gear and it's off. And it drives okay. It doesn't roll over. That's flat out now. And I can turn, so it doesn't roll over all the time. So I wouldn't say it's overpowered. It's about the right kind of ratio of speed. So super happy with that, and it makes it more of a viable, fun thing to take with you when you're going out walking. So it drives really well. One modification I would definitely recommend, being that you now have all these arches, to turn the car on and off, you have to open up the body all the time. And the actual pins that hold the body down are super tiny. So if you're out and about, pulling them off and fitting them again is a real faff. So I would recommend removing the power switch, which you can, it's just stuck onto the ESC receiver, and moving it somewhere that you can actually get your finger in to turn it. Now, whether it's worth cutting a little hole and then mounting it face down, that might be something to do, that I might do, just to make life easier. Or if I can find a position where I can get my finger inside to turn it on and off, as it is a bit of a faff opening and closing this all the time. So there you go, a quick look at the CR-18P Evo. What a mouthful that is. Now, I like the original one, so the new one is even better, and I can highly recommend it. I love these, I think they're brilliant. They perform so much better than you think, and in the UK they're great for in the winter, especially if you've got these kind of indoor obstacles, and makes it so much more fun when it's raining outside, but also when you're going out walking with the family or at the beach or whatever, having one that can actually go as fast as you do when you're walking, I really like that. That's definitely a step up. So if you are thinking about getting one, definitely get the Evo one for sure. I would even go as far to say, if you have an original one, I would probably sell it on and get the Evo for that extra gearbox, the more powerful motor. They are enough justifications to sell it off and buy the new one. Whether they'll end up bringing out an upgrade kit for the old one, that I honestly don't know. And I think that would probably end up being a bit more expensive than selling it off and buying the new one. Or just get two. Thanks very much. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.